if you are building an application, there's possibility that you might need to use a list of data from somewhere, for instance, a list of countries or a list of diseases, or maybe the COVID-19 data set. These are data that you don't have in your application and you need to actually get them from wherever they are and use in your application. And we call this consuming a REST API. So let me give you an example. For instance, we may have something like this. There is a local data I have on my system, a list of items. Okay, so we have this list of items here running here, but this is a local API I built, so I can build an application that gets this list and display it in a table or use it. Let's take, for instance, we have list of countries API. You have REST countries, and for instance, if you want to get a list of countries, you can just go down and just go down a little bit. So you can have this endpoint here, and if you copy it and then paste it on your browser, you have a list of countries that comes for you as a JSON. So how do you get this list of items and then use it right in your application? That is what we are going to be talking about today. So let me just show you the steps. I'm going to be doing it using Spring Boot or Spring Framework, and it's going to be really easy. So I recommend you subscribe to my channel, and also feel free to let me know if you have any challenges by leaving me a comment in the comment box below. So there are two ways to do it. One is the simple one. In fact, the two ways are simple. Let's not make any mistake. The first one is to use RestTemplate, and the second one is to use Ribbon and Feign clients. So let's do both of them. Let's start with the simple one and then do the other one. So I'm going to go to File, New. Let me just create a simple application that I'm going to use to consume these REST APIs. So I'm going to create a new project. Spring Initializer, that's what you should select, so that it set up the initial project for you. So now the dependencies you are going to be adding is 3. So let's first give the group ID com.genius. The name of the artifact is consume API. That's the name of our project. And so I'm going to just call it consume REST API, right? So if we are going to be using RestTemplate, then we can only add one dependency, and that dependency is the Spring Web dependency. But if we also want to consume a REST API using Ribbon and Feign, we need to add Ribbon and Feign dependency. So let's add all these 3 dependencies, and then you can see how each of them works. So anyone that is easy for you, you can actually use. So I'm going to go to click on Web at this place and click on Spring Web. And I'll also add Feign, F-E-I. So it tells me open Feign, that is fine. And finally, I'm going to add Ribbon, okay? A Ribbon, okay, perfect. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. I'm going to click on Next. And I'm going to just leave it in place, is okay. So I'm going to click on this window, yes, new window, okay. So first I'm going to make this application consume a REST API using the REST template. So to do that, there are only 2 steps to follow. The first step to follow is to simply go to src main, and you'll need to annotate. So let's wait for a second. Alright, so the first thing you want to do here is to go to the main application class and annotate it with, and create a bean. So you are going to create a REST template bean because you are going to be using REST template to consume the REST API. So to create a bean, simply say add bean, add bean, and then create a class, a method that returns a REST template. So I'm going to say public REST template get REST template and return new REST template. Okay, so I have this bean, so I can actually use this bean in a controller file to get a list of items. So first I'm going to import this class. So this is my application now. I want it to run on maybe port 9000. So I'm going to say server the port is equal to 9000. And another thing that you also like to do, I like to do it, is not compulsory, but it's necessary to give your application a name. So to do that, you simply say Spring dot application dot name. I'm going to call it consume API. So there is a the convention. So you simply I'll give this name using dash in between the two words. Alright, so let's now save everything and then let's create a controller file that actually does the REST API call. So I'm going to right click on this place. So my system is a bit slow now. Alright, so I'm going to say new Java class. I'm going to call it a REST controller. I'm going to say REST. Let's call it API controller. Alright. Then call it API REST controller any way you want. So you always have to annotate if you have a controller class that has to consume APIs. You need to annotate this class with @REST controller annotation. So I'm going to say @REST, not REST binding, REST controller annotation. Alright. So now let's write a method that is going to consume this list of countries that we mentioned. So I'm going to say first I'm going to auto-wire the REST template into this class because we're going to be using the REST template to make this call. So I'm going to say @auto-wired. I'm going to say private. To auto-wire something, you simply create a private member variable of that type and then annotate with @REST template. So I'm going to say private REST template REST template. Okay, perfect. So when this code runs, it's going to look for the bean that corresponds to this and use it. So I'm going to say let's first get the list of countries in our application. So I'm going to say get mapping to. I'm going to come back to this for now, just give me a second. So I'm going to public list of objects get countries. So this is going to make an external call to this API endpoint I showed you that is on web, on the line online, and get the list of countries. So I'm going to import this class here, list java.util. Okay, so now to make a REST call, you need to use something called the get4object method of the REST template. So let's see how it goes. So I'm going to say first I need to specify the endpoint. So let's see the URL endpoint. So I'm going to say private string. Let's just make it static. String URL is equal to, so it's going to be the URL where the data is located. That is what we need. So there is the URL where the data is located. So I'm going to simply copy it and use it there. Control V. All right. Okay, so there is the URL of the data. So I'm going to say list of objects. Sorry, let's say first object array countries is equal to, now we're going to use a REST template get4object. So this is the syntax, make no mistake about it. So I'm going to say REST template dot get for object, okay, and specify the URL you want to access. So it's going to be the URL which we already specified as a static variable there, and you're going to say object array dot class. Okay. All right. So we now have an object array. How do we now convert it to a list of objects? So to convert it to a list of objects, you simply use the array dot as list. So it's going to be, so we are simply going to return arrays dot as list and specify the object array we want. So it's going to give us a list of objects. So what is happening now is our REST controller will have a URL pattern /countries. When you call /countries, and our application is going to make a request to this REST endpoint, this URL REST endpoint on the web, and get a list of countries for us. So is this very easy to do. So let's run this application and let's go to /countries and let's see that we'll have a list of countries. Hopefully I'm not missing out anything. So I'm going to save everything, save all, and I'm going to run consume API. So it's running at port 9000. So if you go to port 9000 /countries, we should have a list of countries in our local application, and we've actually consumed a REST API. So if this makes sense to you, if this is informative for you, great, like my video and also share it around, and also let me know if you have any challenges whatsoever. I will, okay, let's wait for a second. So while we wait for a second, I would like to just display the procedure for the second part. Now this second type, or this second method, we call it method 2. Let me just say this is method 2. Okay, this is method 2. Is a bit more verbose, but I recommend you also learn it because it's really very important. So if I go to /9000, I'm close this. So I'm going to HTTP. I go to localhost port 9000 /countries. So we expect to get so countries. I have a type there because I'm just being too fast. Countries. So now we should have a list of countries, exactly the same list of countries we have online. We have now in our local application. So for any REST endpoint, you can consume it in this way. Let's now use the second method to get a list of countries. So now we've used RestTemplate to consume an API. Let's now use another method, and this method is going to be to use Feign client. So let's go back to our application here. So I'm going to kind of undo everything we did before. So first I'm going to go to delete this RestTemplate here because we are no longer using RestTemplate. I'm also going to delete everything from here. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to stop this application as well. So I'm going to show you how to use another method to do consume REST API. So this is where we are. Everything is still right from the scratch. All right, so the first thing I would like us to do, take a look at the procedure. The first thing I'm going to do, so this is where we are. We already did number 2. So let's go from number 3. So number 3 is that we need to add a service. So I'm going to add a service that is actually going to expose the methods that we are going to be using. So the methods we are saying we want to get a list of countries, so we need get countries. I also like us to consume this API here, this list of product coming from port 8080 products. I also want us to consume it. So let's have two methods, get countries and get products. So I'm going to create a new service called API service. Now, normally you could have country service, you could also have product service, but I'm calling it API service. Now, this API service is actually going to be an interface, and it's going to have the methods that we want to expose. So I'm going to say public list of objects, because now if you're consuming an API, sometimes you don't know what objects they are. You simply know there's a list of items, and every item or every class in Java are derived from objects. So I'm going to say get countries. All right, so this method, and we also need another one, public list of objects as well. And in this case, we have get products. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have these two items here. So let me just import the class. Import. All right. Java.util.list. So this is what we have. So we have these two methods we want to actually use to be able to call external API. So let me show you, I would like to display this. So we have created this interface specifying clearly the two methods that we have. And we're going to be calling two external endpoints, get list of countries and get list of products. The next thing we want to do is to add another class. This class now is a class that is going to, another interface, and it's going to actually be API service proxy. So it's basically about the same thing. It's also an interface, but it's going to extend the previous interface API service. So basically, this is the class that will be responsible for actually the interface that will actually make the request. So it means that this interface here is going to be a Feign client. So make no mistake about it. Just take note that you need to annotate this with a Feign client. And then you need to give it a name. Let's give it a name. Let's say API service. Okay. All right. So what it means is at this point, this class now will be able to connect to any server that is specified. How do you now tell this Feign client what server it needs to connect to? And that is where I need to explain to you. You need to go to the application.properties file and say ribbon dot. Now in this case, let's check. You have to say ribbon. Let's see. I would like to, yeah, this is where I am now. Ribbon dot list of servers, list of servers, and then specify equals, then specify the list of servers. In this case, let's look at the list of servers. In this case, take note that we only need the server itself, not the path. We need the server itself and not the path. So remember that I'm going to take the first list of server, the first item, and paste it here. And the second one, we also going to take the second one, and again, we take the path, the server name, and not the path. Okay, I'm going to say Control V. So we have two servers right here. So it means that the client will be able to connect to any of these servers that contain the information that it is looking for. Okay. All right. So let's go back to continue. The next thing we want to do now is to go to our controller file. So let's go to this REST controller and then write the controller method. All right. Before then, let me just go to check this application here. Okay, perfect. So in our controller now, we need to write the controller method. The first thing we want to do is to extend, the controller is going to implement the service API service proxy. So this controller actually will use the API service proxy to make calls. So I'm going to just implement the two methods here. And in the service, in this place, you need to also say put the get mapping to, in this case, in case of /countries, you are going to put the mapping to. Now if we go back to the endpoint for the countries, you can see that let me see. Okay, so there is the endpoint that we are actually trying to, I'm just going to go to. So there is the endpoint, this endpoint, the path. Now you are going to specify it separately. Unlike in RestTemplate, we specify the path and the server the same. But in using Ribbon, using Ribbon and Feign client, we specify them separately in this way. Okay. And in this case, you also do the same thing at get mapping to /countries. So what's going to happen when a request is made to any of these? Now Ribbon is going to look at the servers and check which server actually contains this information. It's going to do this by itself. You don't need to worry about it. Just specify the paths and then specify all the servers that are necessary. All right. So let's go back to the API controller. Okay, so now we have also specify get mapping to. So in the case of countries, I think we should have here, okay. And in this case, we have /products, okay. All right. So now, what do we return? We are now going to use the. We are now going to use this service. Let's see. Let me just check. So here we have the REST controller implements the service, okay. we need to annotate it at enable Feign clients. So I'm going to say at enable Feign clients and specify the base package classes, and specify the client services, which is the proxy service API dot class. Okay, perfect. So this is what we have. All right. So the next thing we want to do at this point is we are now going to, what do we now use to make this call? So we are going to use the proxy. The same client is what is going to be used now. So it's kind of confusing, but take some time to get your head around it. It's going to be really clear. So again, we need a bean. We need a bean here to be wired in. So it's going to be API service proxy. API service proxy. This actually implements product service, API service, not API service proxy. API service proxy, API service proxy. I think okay, let's just call it service proxy. Or let's just call it proxy just to be on just to make everything short, okay? All right, so we also need to add a constructor parameter. So I'm going to just click on this and that is fine. So what I'm going to return here now is going to be very easy. So I'm going to say, I'm going to simply return proxy dot get countries, and here I'm going to return proxy dot get product. Proxy dot get product. So it's as simple as that. So this is the second method. For some people, this seems very, very verbose and a bit more difficult, but I think you need to learn how to use it because it applies most times when you are doing a built-in enterprise application. This actually has more plumbing and possibly more security. And okay, so I'm going to, yeah, so I'm going to run it at this point. Hopefully I'm not missing out anything. I'm going to run it. Okay, perfect. So run. And let's see if we have everything like before. So I'm going to take out this one. Let's see if we have everything like before. All right, Tomcat started at port 1990. So let's go to our site/countries at port 1990. HTTP localhost port 1990. Sorry. For some reason this, okay, 9,000. And this time, let's try /products first and see what we have. So no messages /products. Let's see, I think we may have a typo somewhere. So let's get to consume API /products. It says no messages available /products. Okay, so let's see. API service. Oh, so this should be products, not countries. Okay, so that's my mistake. So I'm going to save file, save all, and I'm going to restart. Right, I think Tomcat started at port 9,000, so let's go again. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to just refresh this page, and you can see that it returns a list of countries. How about the other one, which is rest v2/all? So let's try it. Rest v2 all. Fallback rest v2 all. So I think we also have an error somewhere. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that I missed it up. So the list of the server here is not correct. So I'm going to just go to copy the correct server name, which is actually this one, which is the server online. So I'm going to copy it and then replace this with it. So I'm going to remove this for now because this is just a demo. And I'm also going to take out this trailing slash. I'm going to save everything and let's run it to see. All right, so Tomcat started again in port 9000. So let's go to try to check. So we have port 9000. I'm going to refresh, and now you can see that we should have a list of items here. So we've consumed it. So you can see the original part here, but now we are consuming it locally in our application. And the same thing we are going to also do our products as well. So this is how to consume REST API using a Feign client and ribbon. That's the second method, and method one is using the REST template. I'm going to stop here. I would like to thank you for viewing. Please subscribe to my channel by hitting on the subscribe button below, and please leave a comment, like, and share this video if it has been informative for you. I remain Kind on the Tech Pro, and I'm always there for you.